My name is Chelsea Coleman Watson. I am a 1988 graduate of Parkway South. Prior to that, I attended Barrett's Elementary School. I went to South Junior, now known as South Middle, and then again concluded my educational experience in Parkway at Parkway South High School. When I left South High School, I went to college. I went to Drury College in Springfield, Missouri, and that's where I received my undergraduate degree. And so many times the word Parkway came out of my mouth during my college experience because professors would ask me as I entered college as a sophomore, credit-wise, well, where did you learn to write like this? Well, what high school did you go to? Well, how are you this far in Spanish already? How did you learn what you learned? You do such a great job. And so Parkway came out of my mouth often. And of course, as a high school student, you don't necessarily realize how well you are being prepared for your future. You hear people talk to you about that. You hear your teachers tell you what they're doing and why they're doing it. But then to be able to step back and realize that a Parkway education is really like no other education out there. And people around the world recognize that. And that's one of the things that makes Parkway so special. I think it's also really, really important that we all acknowledge the importance of addressing and meeting the needs of the whole child. Because when I was a student in Parkway, that's what happened. It wasn't just about the academics. It was about being a good person, meeting the needs of all children based on their individual aspirations and needs. And that is what Parkway did for me. And I know that's what Parkway did for many, many others that graduated around the same time I did, before me and after me.
Did you have any particular teachers or experiences, either academically or in sports, that sort of, made you feel like education was definitely, the field that you wanted to go into?
Well, yes, and I come from a family of educators. I was able to watch my mother, who began teaching right out of college as well. And so throughout my time in elementary, middle, high school, and beyond, I saw the power of education through the work of my mother and other family members, aunts, cousins. And education was always a conversation in our home. And when I was little, I would be in the basement, and as we'd play school, I was always the teacher. And so it felt very natural as I thought about what I wanted to do when I left high school. Did I have some powerful moments and individuals in my life from Parkway that helped me and helped me think about what service would look like for me in the future? Absolutely. There was a time when I was in junior high school that an unfortunate crisis occurred, which still is a powerful moment for me as I think about what I do today. And during that crisis in junior high school, as I was in high school, able to reflect that I then saw teachers not as masters of their content on one particular day and after, but I began to see teachers. I saw teachers human. I saw teachers display their humanity. And as a student, you often think of teachers not necessarily as people who care, who have a life outside of school, who have emotions. But it was a turning point with that unfortunate situation where then I saw teachers differently, and I was able to really recognize that as I continued through my education in Parkway. And so in high school, it became very easy for me to see the teachers who were there because they wanted a sense of power, and the teachers who were there because they loved kids. And I didn't see many teachers in high school that I didn't feel that really cared for kids, but there's clearly, as a student, differences in the teachers that you experience. And so as I thought about my future, and I thought about the care and concern and humanity that I saw from my teachers in junior high school from that point on, I realized the power and the importance of what teachers can do for kids. And I continued to take that with me as I graduated from high school and I started my degree in elementary education. And that's why I continued to work as a teacher in Parkway. There are moments that define us all the time. And that was a defining moment for me. And so as I think about the work that I do today, it goes back to the sense of caring that I felt, unfortunately, in a crisis situation, and the sense of love that I felt from my Parkway teachers. And not every child has the opportunity to experience that. But as I think again about the work that I do, it is my hope that I can help every child feel loved by their teachers, feel cared about by their teachers, and feel like their teachers know them as an individual, academically, socially, emotionally, and physically. Because that is the power of a teacher and how they can make a difference in a child's life. I also remember my second grade teacher. Her name is Nancy Beckman. And when I was in second grade, I knew 100% that I was her favorite kid in that class. And then as I even continued through elementary school and I'd see Mrs. Beckman in the hallways, that smile she'd give me, I still knew she loved me, and I was her favorite student of all times. I would continue to see Mrs. Beckman through junior high and high school. And then when I was in college, during winter break, I had the opportunity to have a practicum experience. Well, who did I call? I called that teacher, Mrs. Beckman, because I knew that I was her favorite student of all times. And to have the opportunity to go back into her classroom as a college student and see how she continued to make every single child in that classroom feel like they were indeed her favorite student, and every child knew how much she cared about them, I knew that indeed I had chosen the right profession, because I wanted to make sure that as an elementary teacher, I would get a job and be able to do that for the students that I served. And as I continued to reflect, I thought, well, maybe what made me feel so good about her class was the warmth. Maybe it was the wonderful bun that she wore in her hair every single day. I don't remember what I learned in second grade. I don't remember what academic skills I learned. Maybe it was how to print, maybe it was the starting of cursive, I don't know. But the thing I remember is that she cared about me, and I was important. And to this day, when I see her at the grocery store, she still makes me feel like I was the most important student that she ever had.
That's the teacher everybody wants to have.
That's the teacher everybody wants to have.
Every
and that's
year.
the teacher I want every child to have every year.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now today you're Assistant Superintendent of Student Services for Parkway.
I am.
And you got there first by starting as a teacher.
I did.
And then moving up as assistant principal, principal, and then the position that you have today.
Yes.
Did any particular experience happen to you that made you decide you wanted to go from the classroom into administration?
When I got my first teaching job, I knew I was going to teach elementary kids the rest of my life. And I started my master's shortly after getting my first job. And I still knew that I was going to be an elementary teacher for the rest of my life. I started teaching third grade and absolutely enjoyed it. And the thing about Parkway staff is they notice when employees might have some leadership abilities. Clearly, sometimes teachers don't recognize it in themselves, but other people recognize it. And I had one of the most amazing leaders guiding me in my educational experiences as a teacher. His name is Mike Cerruti. And he saw something in me that I did not see. And so he suggested that I take a course on leadership and administration at Maryville when I was working on my degree in elementary education. And so I did, and I was intrigued by it. I was interested in it. And through some ongoing conversations and opportunities that he gave me, I realized that maybe I had a calling after being a third grade teacher in an elementary school. So I finished my master's in elementary education. And then an opportunity came where right next door, the newest school, Southwest Middle School, posted an administrative intern position. And so my principal and I had a coaching relationship. And so he said, why don't you think about this? Why don't you consider this? And in addition, my mother worked next door at Southwest Middle School. And so I had some feedback there. And so I applied for the position. And then I got the position. And I thought, really? I can do this? And so at that point, I was actually looping with my kids from 3rd to 4th grade. So the first day of school in 4th grade, I had to tell my kids that I was leaving, which was very difficult. But then I transitioned to Southwest Middle School, and I spent the first 3 years as an administrative intern. And that's when I started working on my second master's degree, because I received my master's in elementary education, because that's all I was going to do. So then I had to think again and go back to school, and I spent 3 years as an intern and 3 years as an assistant principal and 9 years as the principal of Southwest Middle School, and enjoyed every single moment of that time at Southwest Middle School.